Now, what does your car mean to you? Do you actually enjoy having your car, or is it just something that you have to get from point A to point B? Well, either way, let me ask you, why do you have the car that you do, and how long do you think it's going to last? Well, what if I told you that you could keep it as long as you wanted with the right know how? Now, this is my car. It's a 1999 Honda Civic, so it's already 19 years old. It has a couple 100,000 miles on it, but I still get 30 miles to the gallon, have no major issues, and I can actually say I enjoy driving my car. That's pretty nice. Now, a lot of you are probably already like, oh, well, I can't work on my own car. There's too much stuff. It's too confusing. And if I tried, I'd probably break something. Well, I'm not asking you to know everything, but there are a couple, key basic things that you can know to just help your car last longer. Now, when I say basic, I'm not talking about like making sure you don't run out of gas. Some of the key things you should already know how to check is your oil, or at least have someone check it for you. Making sure your car's still stopping, so your brakes, um, and making sure your headlights don't go out. You don't want to get that nasty ticket just because you were missing a tail light. That's something simple that you should all be checking. Now, my basic things are key components that your car uses to run. So, stuff like your air intake, your fuel or ejectors. You always want to be worried about your tires. You want to be worried about your battery. Even something as simple as your alignment. All that stuff can just help your car last longer. Now, I'm not saying that if you know this stuff, you shouldn't go see a mechanic. Like, you should still probably go to a mechanic on a regular basis and get your car checked up. And, usually I follow whatever they say because following them is just going to help your car last longer in the future. But these basic things will still help you out. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is your battery. Now, your battery is something that everyone's probably like, oh, well, I know how to change a battery. Well, I'm not talking about when your battery dies. If you have some corrosion on your battery, that probably means that there's something wrong. Actually, it does mean there's something wrong, and you should probably take it to a shop and get it looked at. That's going to save you in the long run from being late to work because your car didn't start. Now, the next thing is your tires. Now, everyone knows that your tires are a basic key component to your car. You don't want to lose a tire because your life's at risk. Now, your tires, all kinds of different things can happen to your tires. Your tires could wear unevenly from being underinflated, which is where they will wear on the outside. If they're overinflated, they'll wear on the inside. Simple things like having your alignment out can make your tire wear really weird, such as choppiness or just one side wearing instead of the other. So maybe it's the inside wearing and you can't see that. The best way is just keep looking at your tire, keep feeling and making sure that it's not wearing uneven. If it is, go get it looked at. The biggest thing would always be your alignment. Your alignment's basically just how straight your wheel is as you're driving straight. So if your alignment's off, the best way to check that is just to see if your steering wheel is pulling when you're trying to drive down the road. If it's pulling one way or the other, your alignment's probably off. So you should go get it checked before you lose too much of your tire without even realizing it. The next thing would be your air filter. Now, your air intake is how much air your car is pulling in to mix with your fuel. If you have a clogged air intake, it's just going to cause problems. So check it, get it clean. You could look it up on YouTube. It's pretty easy. The next thing that you're going to want to be checking is your fuel. Now, I'm not talking about your standard fuel where it's like, hey, am I running out of gas? No. I'm talking about fuel as in like your fuel filter, your fuel pump, basically your fuel lines. Making sure stuff like that is good is, really going to help your car in the long run because that's how your fuel is going to transition from you putting it in the gas tank to the engine. Another thing is a lot of people overfill their gas tanks. You don't want to do that because that last little neck that's there before the gas actually comes back out towards the nozzle, that's not meant to hold fuel. So stop overfilling your gas tanks. You'll thank me later. The next thing is going to be your ignition. Once you get your fuel and your air in there and all that's good, you want to make sure your ignition's igniting. Biggest way to know that is if your car's misfiring. Misfires when one cylinder doesn't fire, so you'll get a bunch of shaking and stuff like that. It's pretty easy to know. Take it to a shop, get it ahead of time, it'll last longer. Um, Now your oil. On top of just checking your oil, you should know when your oil is going bad. If it's low but it's clear, you don't need to change your oil, just top it off. Now if it's dark, even if it's full, you need to change your oil. Now a lot of people always have this misinterpretation of when to change their oil. You know, newer cars that have synthetic oil need to be changed less often, such as higher mileage. No matter what oil you have, on average, you should be changing it around 4,000 to 5,000 miles. If you have a real older car, maybe 3,000 miles. But that doesn't mean go change it, in 4,000 miles if it's like 6 months ago. Oil lifespan only lasts 3 months. All oil, if you're using your car, it lasts 3 months. You don't want your engine looking like it's got a bunch of Play-Doh in it because you waited 6 months to change your oil even though you only use your car like 300 miles. You gotta change it. Now basically, with all this stuff, if you do it right, I'm sure you've already learned something. Your car is gonna last longer. You now know a little bit more about your car and you know that you need to be changing this stuff. Well, I hope you at least feel a little bit better, and if you have any more questions, you could always YouTube stuff, look it up, know how to service your car, and it'll stay with you for as long as you want.